I'm going to kill you when you leave the party,
said the tall, dark-haired woman in the white dress, smiling cheerfully. I blinked. I didn't go to the parties often. In situations like this, finding yourself in a baffling, awkward conversation with a total stranger were a big reason for that. Even so, this particular situation was getting very odd even by those standards. So odd that I was almost certain that I had misheard the woman. Did you just say you were
going to kill you when you leave the party?
She said, smiling at me.
Follow you back to your car, sneak up behind you, probably throw you to the ground, stomp on you a bit, and then, a little crude torture before I finally kill you. It'll be quite agonizing for you.
I stared at the woman, considering a response to this. Various ones came to mind, most of which involved asking her if she was drunk, or high, or if this was some bizarre party game that had caught on and which I was only just now finding out about. But somehow, I couldn't ask the woman any of those questions. Looking at her, I realized that she was perfectly sober, and even though she was strangely pleasant about the prospect of murdering me horribly, she seemed sincere. And so I found myself asking the only question that seemed to suit the situation. Why would you do that?
Why not?
Said the woman with a jovial shrug.
It'll be fun. For me, at least.
She gave me a slightly sympathetic glance.
Not for you.
You'll be caught, I said slightly desperately.
No, I won't be,
said the woman, shaking her head. I'm going to call the cops, I muttered, starting to move away.
No, you won't.
Her dark eyes following me. You can't do this, I said, turning and shaking my head at the woman.
Yes, I can,
she answered, an amused grin on her face. I turned away and headed towards the host. Larry was an old friend, and I knew that he wouldn't let this insane woman threaten me in this utterly bizarre fashion. For the first time in the night, I was glad Mabel had stayed at home with the kids, rather than hiring a babysitter. I didn't want my wife to be anywhere near this lunatic. As I tried to remember if anyone had told me this woman's name, I didn't think so. In fact, on reflection, I couldn't recall just how the woman and I started talking. I walked up to Larry and the small knot of people gathered around him. Larry, I said, gesturing behind myself. That woman just threatened to kill me. Larry blinked and looked over to where I was gesturing. Which woman? He asked. The tall one, with the dark hair, in the white dress, I snapped, as he gradually turned his all-encompassing wave into a precise point. Larry's eyes searched over the crowd until they found the person I was indicating. Oh, you mean... what's her name again?
That's Colleen,
said a woman.
She works in shipping.
No, said a man. In real estate.
Are you sure?
Said the woman.
I swear it was shipping.
Colleen! Larry called across the room. The tall, dark-haired woman in the white dress turned and started to loop over towards the little knot of people. Larry gave an apologetic cough as she reached them. That's your name, right?
Sure, why not?
Said the woman with a smile and a forgiving shrug. Right, said Larry, nodding in agreement. Carl, Richard here says you said you were gonna kill him.
That's right. I'm going to kill him after he leaves the party.
Larry's mouth fell open, his eyes slightly glassy. Oh, he stared at Colleen for a moment before speaking again. Why?
Oh, to amuse myself, really. I get bored, terribly bored sometimes, and killing someone really just puts an end to that for a while.
She smiled broadly.
It's very amusing.
Oh, said Larry, nodding casually. As I looked over the group, I realized most of them were giving the same sort of nod, a vague, matter-of-fact gesture that would have seemed more appropriate if she had been talking about why she changed her insurance policy,
Well, that makes sense.
said the woman who'd earlier sworn she was in shipping. Colleen nodded.
You have to keep yourself happy. If you don't, who will?
The group nodded as if she'd just said something profound.
This one's going to be hilarious if I say so myself.
She gestured to me.
I'm going to kill him slowly in the parking lot.
Several people broke out into grins at this, and one of them tittered as if she were telling a funny joke.
You will all hear his cries of pain and agony, but you won't realize it. They will haunt your nightmares for the rest of your lives. You'll wake up in the middle of the night hearing the echo of it, but you'll never really realize it. It will lurk in your minds, always beyond conscious recognition, hovering on the edge of your memory, never to leave your skull, no matter how much you might wish it to.
As a sort of general laughter broke out among the crowd at this, as I looked around the room, I realized that everyone's attention was now fixed on Colleen. And even worse, they all seemed to be regarding her as if she were telling some highly amusing joke.
But I haven't gotten to the best part.
Continued Colleen, gesturing emphatically with her hands.
When I'm done killing Richard, I'm going to cut him into little pieces, stuff him into the trunk of his car, drive it back to his house, and leave it there for his wife and kids to find.
She threw back her head and laughed. The crowd laughed along, with even Larry joining in his guests' amusement.
I'm thinking I might just put his head on the dashboard to make it extra horrifying for them.
Peals of laughter rang through the room.
They're going to be traumatized for the rest of their lives. His wife, Mabel, is going to try and kill herself 2 months later.
A woman's swallow of drink gushed from her nose as she joined in the laughter, while I tried to remember if I'd mentioned Mabel to Colleen. Meanwhile, she smiled confidently, the expert storyteller getting to the best part.
It won't work. At least not like she plans. She'll suffer a massive organ failure but will survive hooked up on machines for the next 2 years. And when she does die, it's going to be excruciating. Oh, and his kids.
She rolled her arms back in a rather distressingly fluid manner. Then, with a sudden jerk, brought them together so quickly the slap echoed in the room.
Oh, the hell those kids of his will go through in the institutions. I tell you, that's the one thing I love about you people. You do so much of my work for me.
The entire room was now filled with people laughing hysterically at the thought of my horrible murder and the ruin of my family. As I looked around it, I wondered what was happening. I felt utterly alone and utterly helpless. A companionable hand touched my shoulder. I turned around.
Richard,
Said Colleen, looking at me, filled with sympathy.
you don't look like you're having fun.
I'm not, I said, shaking my head.
You should leave then. If you're not having fun at a party, why stay?
You're right. I straightened myself and headed to get my coat. Before I left, I turned to regard my friend. Thanks for the advice, Col.
Hey, anytime.
She said in her usual good-natured way.
Be seeing you then, real soon.
That'll be nice, I said as I went out the door.
It will be.
She agreed with a toothy grin. I left the apartment and took the elevator to the lobby, then walked across the parking lot to my car. As I did so, a nagging, growing sense of dread began to grip me. One that refused to go away no matter how much I repeated that it was ridiculous. I felt certain that something horrible was going to happen to me. I tried to dismiss it, but it wouldn't go away. I kept trying to remember why I felt that way as I fumbled for my keys. That's when I heard the quick, confident footsteps rushing up behind me. I remembered.